Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Karen Weaver. There's a Division I institution that has perhaps flown under your radar, and who is choosing to face the hurricane of changes in college athletics head on. My guest today is Dr. Luke Wood, the ninth president of Sacramento State University and a nationally recognized scholar on racial equity in education. A two-time Sac State alumnus, Dr. Wood has authored 16 books and over 200 publications. Dr. Wood has been outspokenly advocating for Sacramento State to move from FCS to FBS and is actively seeking a place in the big-time athletics ecosystem. Luke, welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, Karen.
You are so welcome. So we're just going to have a conversation today talking about the genesis of this in your thinking, how you initially approached it, because you've been at Sac State now for how many years? 3?
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have a lot to get to know because you were there for 2 degrees, but it looks different from the president's office. So walk us through how this is going.
Well, it's been an amazing experience. What a privilege to be able to be the president of your alma mater.
Yes.
A little bit about me, I'm from far northern California. So I was born in Oakland, but raised in the far north in a small town called McLeod, which is near Mount Shasta. Basically as far north as you can get and still be in California. And had the pleasure of coming to Sacramento State as an undergraduate. And early on in my experience, actually it was during orientation, something happened that ended up shaping the course of my life. They had everyone assembled in a big room, all the new students from who were coming in, and they said, "Look to your left, look to your right. Only one of you will graduate." And they thought that was motivational, but essentially what they were trying to say is, a lot of people will come into a college or university, but they won't graduate. So you got to be focused. You got to have time management skills. You got to study. And that's what they were trying to communicate. But that was not the message that anybody received from it. But that was the first time in my life I realized that people went to college and didn't graduate. Because in my mind, like, oh, everyone who goes to college, it's, the majority of the people finish.
Right.
And I never realized it. And it's because, like, growing up, at least from the community I was from, everyone told you, you got to go to college. You got to go to college. It's important that you get there. But no one ever told you what to do when you got there because they had never been there themselves. And so that was an eye-opening experience. And then I started looking into the data and seeing that there are certain groups that have disproportionate impact, that have outcomes that are lower than that of their peers. Became very passionate about issues of racial inequity in particular. And basically, by the time I hit my sophomore year in college, I was obnoxious and telling everybody who would listen that I was going to be the president of Sacramento State. And I have been working my entire career to get to this point.
Wow.
And I like to tell people, I came to finish what we started when I was in student leadership. It was about making sure that we were doing more to support retention programs for minoritized students, that we had more students who were graduating from campus, that our leadership on campus was reflective of the demographic of the students that we serve, and that we prioritize supporting college athletics. And so I've been consistent since 2000 and have been advocating for the same things because I see them all as being very directly interrelated in terms of what it takes to create an environment where our students who have been treated with disregard and distrust, that they can be in an environment where they can experience hope and dignity and a true upward trajectory for their families.
That's great. I mean, I have rarely talked to people, and I've talked to a lot of leaders who've been so clear-headed and clear-sighted about what their goals and aspirations are, not just for themselves, but for the people around them. And I find that fairly inspirational, actually. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's been very interesting then coming back and then seeing faculty members and staff members who are part of your formative years in your journey, who are still here, still doing the good work, still in the fight, and I think it's a full circle moment for me, but I also know that for a number of them, it's a full circle moment as well. That you
Sure.
send out your students into the world, and sometimes they boomerang back.
Well, I'm sure so many of them are really proud of you and remember you from back then, but hopefully appreciate you for who you are today.
Yeah, I think that they're happy that I matured.
Uh, we all are happy with our adult
Yes.
selves most of the time. That's true. So, looking at the landscape of college athletics and higher education today, it is fraught with landmines,
Yeah.
fraught with people who want you in the room, and fraught with an equal number or more people who don't want you in the room. What would a move from FCS to FBS look like, especially considering it's really hard to get in the room?
So, what was that last part?
It's really hard sometimes to get invited into the room in
Yeah.
FBS, especially for a Power 4 conference. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, getting so first of all, transitioning from FCS to FBS is very difficult. So
Yes.
FCS for though I know that many people may understand, but I'll just explain real quickly. FCS, there's two levels of D1 football, FCS and FBS. FCS is the championship series where instead of playing in bowls, we play in a collegiate championship for who is the top school. And then FBS, they play in bowl series, but now also, of course, over the last several years have developed a championship as well. And so there are regulations that prevent how often we can play with one another. So the FBS schools can play up to one game each year that counts towards their actual season and their record for consideration for postseason play, like being eligible for a bowl. Whereas, of course, FCS we can play as many as we can find, but that limitation makes it difficult. The one of the things that has been the challenge for FCS to FBS transitions just in general is that it's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So there's a significant financial deterrent from this from NCAA in terms of the transition fee. There's also you have to have an invite from a conference, and if you're in the West Coast, there's a limited number of conferences that are available to be able to look at. And in fact, in the West Coast, the last university to go from FCS to FBS was Boise. So
Wow.
that's how long ago it's
Yeah.
been. And so we're trying to do something that I can't say has never been done, but certainly has only been done once in the last 30 years. So that's saying something. And what it involves is you have to have an invitation from a conference, and so there has to be a perception that one, your media market is of value, that your level of competitiveness is one where you're going to be at least in the mix when it comes to teams, that you are bringing in a reputational value as a university, and they look at a lot of factors along those lines. And I would say investment in athletic facilities, and then also investment in student athletes themselves.
Mhm.
And I would say that those five things are what we've been focused on. So we, before I came here, the president before me actually started an FBS feasibility study. And so when I came in, we had a draft of the study, and then we basically asked them to go back and add in a bunch of new things, and we recommissioned the study because the numbers were getting old. And looking at, okay, so what are the markers that we need to be able to hit as a university in terms of our investment, our NIL, our revenue share? Are we opting in? Are we opting out? What our facilities look like? What our facility strategic plan looks like over time? And those are things that you have to impress upon conferences that you're in it, because nobody wants to bring an FCS school that's just going to be at the bottom of the pack. They want to make sure that they're bringing in someone who's going to bring value. And we're fortunate in Sacramento State, we're in the top 20 media market. We're the number 20 media market in the nation.
Mm.
And we're the only top 20 media market that does not have an FBS program. And we're in an unsaturated market. So it's us, it's the Sacramento Kings, and it's UC Davis.
Hmm.
That's that. And of course, for a very temporary period of time, it's the Sacramento or Oakland A's, whatever you want to call them right now. And so as a result, we do well. I mean, we were number 10 in FCS for attendance this year so far. We average over 15,000 fans a game. The truth is, when we play teams that people know and recognize more readily, are, will sell out. So, we can sell out playing at Cal Poly or playing at UC Davis, but because of either proximity or because of name ID. And so part of our goal in wanting transition is that the people are recognizing the teams that we're playing a little bit more. But that being said, it's great football at FCS. No one ever said that it's not. I know that there's a lot of folks who think that by transitioning that we think that FCS is lesser than, and there's no question. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State could beat a large majority of the FBS teams in any given day. So it's not about an issue of quality; it's about an issue of access to opportunity for our students.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you for explaining that. So when we look at FCS, what you said about media markets resonates with me. In Philadelphia, where I'm based, we have an FBS school, Temple University,
Yep.
that has had some success. I think that's a fair thing. They've had a couple of really good seasons, but I think in Philadelphia, they are overwhelmed by the Philadelphia Eagles and the NFL. You don't have an NFL team anywhere near you, is that right?
Yeah, we don't. Nowhere near us. So we have the 49ers,
Okay.
and they're not
Okay.
even in San Francisco. So like if you think about our region, we own our region in terms of football. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this, because we could be elevating other sports, but if there's a professional team in your city, it's very difficult to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why, for example, go to San Diego State, and basketball is everything in San Diego at San Diego State, because there's no professional team and
Right.
they fill that void and play really, really, really high level basketball.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's important for presidents to understand is what is your marketplace? What are you hearing about what your media companies are saying as far as your valuation to certain conferences?
We've had a very high response from media and from also our media market. So we had our Greater Sacramento Economic Council, which is the economic council for our region. They actually did a media market analysis for us, and it's not just that we're the top 20; it's what the value that our media market brings, and the fact that when people turn on the TV to see Sacramento State football, that we're getting good viewership. We just had a game that was on ESPN2 with Montana, and that was one of the biggest FCS games this year, if not the biggest so far this year. It did amazing. And so our media market has been tested. It's been shown that we can be effective in leveraging it. And then we do basically broadcast through ESPN Plus. We have a local media market deal with KMax. We have one with ESPN 1320 for radio, and then of course we have the deal through the Big Sky. And so as we transition out of the Big Sky, it creates an opportunity for us to then create our own media deal, focusing specifically on our market. And let me just say this, some of this has to be about the bottom line, right? So athletics is never just about athletics. That's what most people don't understand. Athletics is about marketing the university. It's about enrollment. It's about philanthropy. It's about community engagement. It's about alumni engagement. And I don't see like a football game as a football game. I see it as an activator event. That's why we have a tailgate. That's why we have a football game. That's why we have fireworks afterwards. That's why we have a concert after every game, because they're large scale activator events. Like at our last football game, we had the game before last, we had over 800 students from high schools across the state who came, um, and community colleges across the state who came to basically check out Sacramento State. And
Mhm.
guess what? They applied, they filled out intent to enrolls, and they're coming. And so we see it as this kind of larger scale investment. And then also we serve as an engine for economic development.
Mhm.
Like if you think about, when we have our fans, let's say we're playing playing a team that brings 20,000 fans, or we have 20,000 fans at the stadium, right? That's hotel tax, that's sales tax, that's people who are working in security, who are getting money in their pockets. it's economic development for our region. And so we have pitched ourselves as to our region. We're not just a university, and this is not just football. This is an investment in economic development for your region. If you were going to go out and you were going to buy a professional football team, how much would that cost? All right. And we outdraw the majority of professional teams in our city. So if we're doing that already, playing teams that many of our fans may not recognize, even though there's really high level football, there's an opportunity for us to be able to accelerate that and generate more revenue, which benefits the bottom line for the university. So here's a perfect case in point. We elevated basketball, right? We brought in Mike Bibby. He's our coach. We've gotten Shaquille O'Neal. He's our general manager. We've got some
Stop right there.
yeah.
Understand who Mike Bibby and Shaquille O'Neal are for my listeners who aren't necessarily sports fans. Who are they?
Mike Bibby is an NBA legend and represents the glory years of the Sacramento Kings, and is an amazing coach. Coached at the high school level, won statewide championships, coached at G League for the NBA Summer League. Just an amazing all-around coach, player, athlete, just a good human being. Then you've got Shaquille O'Neal, who, if you haven't heard of Shaq, then you probably may not have lived on planet Earth. But he's our general manager for the basketball program as well, and we got some star players, right? And then I moved us into a new facility that we did in collaboration with one of our auxiliaries. And in our first 3 games, right, I want folks to understand like why we're doing this. In the first 3 games of this season, we generated more revenue from ticket sales and corporate sponsorships than the last 2 seasons combined in 3 games. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Our applications are up 16.5%. For non-resident students that pay double, they're up 66%. Like sports is an activator for all the other things that you're trying to accomplish at the university.
I got you. So there's so many questions I have, but let me just start with the basic question. You're in the state capitol's backyard. So what do your legislators say about this move? Do they have opinions? Are they weighing in? Can they be supportive? Those kinds of things.
In terms of the sports reporters?
I'm sorry. No, so the legislators.
Oh, the legislators. Oh, the legislators have been great.
Yeah.
They've been great to work with. So, all right. So we have what's called the Sac 12.
Okay.
Right. The Sac 12, think of them as our main boosters, right, for the campus.
Okay.
There's not a legislator in this entire area who's not part of the Sac 12 or chairing or co-chairing the Sac 12.
Okay.
So every single one of our legislators has been involved in supporting us in this effort, from the federal to the state to local government. And we're fortunate, I could say, we have that alignment because we have made a very clear argument about the benefit for economic development. We have made a very clear argument around what it can do for the elevation of the city in general and the region in general. We made a very clear argument around how they, as many of them as alums of Sacramento State, can support the university and our goals. And they also understand that they can look at other models in our state. Look at what San Diego State has done. Look at what Fresno State has done. 2 Cal States who have elevated their brands, elevated their universities using athletics as one of their strategies. And for us, it's no different.
Okay. So, I know there's a lot of pressure on states right now, uncertainty on their budgets, not sure what from the federal government may be pushed down to state budgets. What's been their response, especially in the last year, let's say, of all this uncertainty at the federal level?
Well, the uncertainty at the federal level has been pretty substantial. Obviously, when we're talking about the changes that have happened with everything ranging from NIL to revenue share to whether or not you're going to opt into the House settlement, there's that landscape, right? And that's a interplay between what's happening with the with Congress and NC2A and the current president of the United States. And then separate from that is also, of course, as a university, responding to the numerous edicts and directives that are coming out of the Department of Education from the current presidential administration. So it's a complex minefield that we have to walk. Um, but I can say that so far we have been very effective. We have complied with every expectation and every rule, and we've been able to maintain our values in doing so. And the chaos, I would say, in both those areas, but also primarily in conference realignment, has been very beneficial to Sacramento State. We would not be even in this conversation if the Pac-12 had not had a dissolution, if because an that had a ripple effect across five other conferences, and so that has created continuous opportunity for us, and has put us in a position where we're looking forward to be able to make this transition in a very short order.
Is the Pac-12 kind of your target? Is that where you're focusing, or you're open to anything?
Well, my target has always been to transition to FBS.
Right.
And I am I think reasonable in that I want to see us be able to compete at that higher level. I want our students to be able to have access to enhanced revenue sharing opportunities, like all of that. Now, I can say that unquestionably, well, among the our boosters, our alumni, our local community members, unquestionably, they would prefer to see us in the Pac-12 within that realm.
Sure.
So I'd say for me, it's FBS as soon as possible, and for our local community, they would eventually like to see a future where we're in the Pac-12.
So next year you're going to be independent in football. Everything else is going to be in the Big West. Do I have that right?
So you have that mostly right as of today, right now at 9:32 on November 20th. Um, so
Yep.
we've got 21 intercollegiate sports.
Yep.
19 of them, other than rowing and football, are in the Big West, which
Right.
is a great move for us.
Right.
It's a great move for baseball. It's a great move for track and field. It's a great move for volleyball. It's exactly where we want to be, because now our travel for our student athletes is much less. They're playing primarily California teams,
Okay.
and they're playing teams that people readily recognize, or there's alums of those teams in our local area. And so we are very excited to see what that's going to do in terms of translating to increased revenue generation for ticket sales, sponsorships, etc. And then separate from that, we have football, which right now will not be in the Big Sky.
Hmm.
And in terms of what I can say right now is that we look forward to playing an FBS schedule next year.
Okay. That's fair. We'll have to check back in with you and see how that's going.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to shift to, and you talked a lot about how athletics drives enrollment and retention. In the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, other parts of the country, we've got an enrollment cliff. We've got a demographic shift of
Yep.
fewer and fewer 18-year-olds graduating from high school, which creates different stressors on colleges, many private, but some public, particularly regional publics. What are you seeing in your neck of the woods with regards to enrollment and retention?
Well, so first of all, let me just say that most universities in the West are struggling with the same thing.
Okay.
The enrollment cliff is here too. Um, and it has been a significant decrease in Northern California.
Okay.
So to put it in a context, there's about, let's say, 8 state colleges in the north, and all but 2 are extremely down and
Well,
have been. Some of them up to over since 2015 to 2025 between 30 to 38%. So we're talking about substantial
wow.
decreases. Sacramento State is one of the 2 where we have been able to buck that trend. Um,
Okay.
and there's a lot of reasons for it. One, we've got a lot of innovative stuff that we're doing. And so we actually just welcomed our 2 largest incoming classes ever, back to back, and are on track for this upcoming fall to really demolish the incoming student record. Um, Now, that's also paired with the fact that we're graduating more students too. Our graduation rates have been skyrocketing as well. You know, we had over the last 10 years a 256% increase in our graduation rates. Now, some of that is because our we weren't doing well to begin with, and now we're at at a respectable point. But it's also because of a lot of hard work from folks here to be able to make that happen. So, but because of our innovative programs, because of our focus on athletics as a way of bringing attention to the university, we have, and also because of our community colleges. So we have a really strong community college system in the local area. They're all up on enrollment, every single one of them. And not only are they up, but if you think about our region, it's Sacramento State and UC Davis. Those are the only two major universities in our region. And so, and when I said region, I mean really in a DMA, media market of 2.3 to 2.6 million people.
Hmm.
So we are in a unique position. And the last piece of it is we're also in a region that is growing, unlike a lot of the other parts of the state. The two of the fastest growing regions in the state are in our service area, Placer County and Elk Grove.
Wow.
So we're benefiting from all those things, and then of course the added exposure and attention. I mean, when Mike Bibby is your basketball coach, Shaquille O'Neal is your basketball GM, Brennan Marion is your football coach, Uriah Faber is your executive coach for your combat programs, and Andre Ward is your general manager for boxing, and there's some other ones I can't announce yet that are getting ready to come out. Like, that is intentional because we're bringing in people who want to help invest and help us to grow
Yeah.
and are really putting a different perception on Sacramento State. I'll say this, um, in 5 years, we will be a flagship in this state,
Okay.
period.
That's a bold prediction, and we're going to keep an eye. Now, I have to ask you, how are you going to do revenue share? I mean, how do you do that? I know Shaquille O'Neal can probably find you money you didn't, places you didn't think you'd look, but this is going to be for football, and I assume men's and women's basketball at the minimum, right?
So we've begun we're doing revenue share.
Okay.
There's revenue share and there's NIL, right? So NIL is coming external groups, and
Right.
then revenue share is coming from the revenue that we're generating as a
Correct.
university.
Yeah.
We're doing revenue share for football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and track and field. Um,
Okay.
those are, but specifically in track, it's around the primarily around the sprints events, right?
Okay.
And that's our first year as a university doing this. But I also want to explain where this comes from and where also my philosophy about this has been consistent since I was a kid. As I mentioned, when I was a student here, big advocate for student athletics, despite not being a college athlete myself. So where it comes from is I'm a critical race theorist by training. So I'm a critical race president, therefore, right? And so I think of things through that lens, and I recognize that there have been laws and policies that have been put into place over time to systematically disadvantage athletes. And the vast majority of those athletes, when you're talking about revenue generating sports, are Black. And so I see revenue share as a social racial justice um, consideration,
Okay.
which I don't think you're going to find very many people who have that opinion. But that's my opinion. I mean, I have a strong opinion about this,
Yeah, sure.
that
Well,
you
your
should
research
not.
your research reflects that. So you're just putting practice into in research into practice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You got a student who's a Black male, maybe they're from a lower income community, and they're coming to Sacramento State and putting their body on the line for the university to represent and advertise our university. And for years, the university has put them on the front of brochures, put them on the front of the website, marketing billboards, generated revenue off them that has supported every other sport, right? Because football basically pays for almost all the other sports. And they've done that and they've gotten nothing. Sold their jersey in the bookstore. They got nothing, right? And so for me, it's always been like this need to fix a wrong. And that's to make sure that if you're a student athlete and you're putting your body on the line for the university, and you're in a sport that is generating revenue, you should get a piece of that. That's just fair.
Mhm.
We don't expect faculty to come and teach for free, right? We don't expect staff to come and to provide support for free. So why would we expect a student who's generating revenue for the campus to do it totally free? And not every student is going to get paid, right? I
Mhm.
mean, there's different levels to what it looks like, but the philosophy around revenue share is one that I'm wholeheartedly as president committed to, because anything else is wrong.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. Explain, because you're the first person I've talked to who's doing it with track, particularly with sprinters. Explain to me how that works.
Yeah, I mean, so Sac State has a long and really kind of storied track and field program.
Okay.
And we are moving football into a new location. And part of what we're doing is we're taking that facility and we're turning it into a premier track facility.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
if you think about the events, like it's track and field goes all day, right?
Yes.
And so it's one of those sports where it's not like you show up for the thing and then it's over, right? It can even last a couple of days if you're doing like the larger events that we would do here. And so you think about, okay, when the stands are packed in track, like if you go out there, like when is the greatest density of people going to be there? It's for the 100-meter dash,
That's right.
unquestionably,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
So what we're doing is we've been investing there, because that's when people are going to come out, and then we can use that to benefit the rest of the track
I
program.
gotcha. Yeah, we see that at the Penn Relays. When we have the premier, Jamaican and others athletes come in, it's like everybody wants to be there for that. It's really quite special.
Yeah, and in fact, we have a track athlete I'm super excited about. He's on the football team. He's a star football player, and he's also a star track athlete.
Nice.
Uh Ernest Campbell, we call him Flash, and he truly is Flash. I mean,
Yeah.
he runs 100 meters in 10.02.
Wow. Wow.
So he's smoking fast,
Yes, he is.
I cannot wait to be able to have the stands packed with Sacramento State students and community members cheering on Flash, and seeing him just do his very best here for the university and for himself.
Right. Right. As we start to wind the conversation down, obviously, in the situation with college athletics is today, more money means you have to generate more money. So, do you have a plan for the longer term needs? I mean, we have, some FBS programs. I don't have to tell you, $200 million, $300 million a year on athletics, $30 million a year and up for revenue share. Where do you see your ceiling, or do you see a ceiling in this?
Yeah, I mean, I think with all of those programs, one thing to remember that they're also getting a much bigger media payout. And
Right.
so
Mhm.
that is contributing to a lot of how they're spending those dollars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Our media payout in the Big Sky for all 21 sports has been $100,000 a year.
Wow.
So so the only way is up.
Yes. That's
Right?
one way to look at it. Yes.
Yeah, and I can and I'm gonna and I can tell you right now, we could negotiate the minute that we have completed this season, and even if we were to play independent next year, which I don't anticipate we will, but even if we were, right, we would generate more revenue to having our own media market deal.
Okay. Okay.
So
That makes sense.
and so for us, the ceiling is really going to be dependent upon what level are you at. So there are different levels, of course, to FBS as well.
Right.
And I think it's safe to say that the higher you go up, the more the expected investment is, but there's also the more the payout and the upside is. Um, I know this, that we are ready to be able to play at the next step for where we're at right now. I know that we can be competitive athletically. I know that we can be competitive in terms of revenue share and in terms of NIL. I know we can be competitive in terms of how we're supporting and compensating our coaching staff. And so we can do that at the next level. And then I think the next level from there is a conversation once we get there. But I think in terms of the building blocks, I mean, we're, you know, we're ascending right now. So I tell people, catch us while you can.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have to say I really like the theme song, for The Stinger. I've seen that on one of your local broadcasts. I might put a piece of that on this as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's pretty it's not my generation, but that's the idea. It's for somebody else's generation.
Yep. Yep. And that's what we've tried to do is make this all about what would our students want. So
Yeah,
like for example, we have after every single football game, we have a concert, right?
right.
That's intentional, right? We want to make sure that we're providing students with a range of an experience that creates that greater connection to the university because they're going to go on to be our donors of the future.
Yeah, right, right, right. Last question, and it's always the biggest one. You're talking to a group of new presidents who's sitting in my classroom. What kinds of advice would you give them about the athletics landscape today?
Focus on your facilities first.
Okay.
Get your facilities up to par to where they need to be and make sure that you're investing in athletic training.
Yeah.
Um, the greatest risk that you have is around, I would say is primarily around athletic training and facilities.
Mhm.
Like for example, if you got holes in your track and you got a track athlete who breaks their ankle, that's a real thing that actually happens. Like that's a problem. And I always think about things through risk, right? How do we reduce financial risk, legal risk, reputational risk,
Right.
and football and all the other sports really are the areas that you have great risk in, and so you have to be able to manage that.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing I would tell them: don't sleep on the risk in gymnastics.
Hmm.
Gymnastics unquestionably, out of all of the sports that most universities has the highest rate and the most extreme injuries.
Yeah.
So, and everyone always assumes it's football or rugby, or we at Sac State we have boxing and mixed martial arts.
I
None
know.
of them
That's a
compared to
whole other
gymnastics.
conversation that I wanna have, but we
Yeah, we got mixed martial arts. We got
Yeah.
boxing on campus.
Yeah.
In fact, tomorrow we got a big boxing event where we're taking on UC Davis. Where collegiate boxing is on the rise, and we're the first university to do MMA.
Yes.
And imagine coming to an event at Sacramento State, fighting out of the red corner, so and so from Sacramento State fighting a student from pick another university, and then they're competing and but because we're creating what we believe is the first collegiate pathway into both professional boxing
Yeah.
and mixed martial arts by recruiting students so that they can see that they can come and fight for us and represent us as a university, and then we'll fight for them to cross the stage of graduation. But it's all part of, again, like,
Gotcha.
and you mentioned this earlier, Karen, like it's setting up our university to be responsive to what the students are wanting to
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how we're structuring it all.
I gotcha. Well, Luke, this has been a tremendous conversation. I really appreciate getting to know you a little bit, hearing about your vision for your campus, for the future of for your students and your student athletes. Thank you for taking some time to talk with me and my audience today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And hey, let's run this back at some point in the future. I'd love to tell you more about Combat U.
Absolutely. Sounds good.